Okay.
You know, I've been thinking, is it better to make a masterpiece from the start, only to completely blunder it later on? Or to make something average and incrementally improve over time? That's the conundrum I have as I look at Arcane Season 2 and the Sonic movie franchise. It's hard to believe that Sonic 3 would be a better written story than Arcane Season 2, but here we are. And trust me, the writing of Sonic 3 is pretty out there.
Join me in the crowd.
And yet, it's something one who saw the previous two movies would be familiar with, and heck, might even get some enjoyment out of the absurdity.
If you don't know how to floss, you'll be lost without me.
Some could argue that those things are internally consistent in the world, so a military officer giving a coupon to Olive Garden or discussing a tragic character's backstory at a Chow Garden is just the kind of world Sonic is set in, and it's up to you, the viewer, to accept it. And by the looks of it, many people did. If you haven't noticed already, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 has been getting a lot of attention on social media recently due to its overwhelming box office success, especially when competing against Disney's Mufasa. But I don't quite understand this apparent rivalry between the two. I don't think anyone should be surprised that Sonic 3 was a success. The Sonic movie team has managed to steadily grow its audience by delivering consistently average, wholesome, and entertaining movies that appeal to both kids and fans of the Sonic franchise. But the more crucial thing that the Sonic movies possess, and the one thing that makes them stand out above Mufasa and any other CGI kids movies, is their soul. Sonic the Hedgehog was Jeff Fowler's feature-length directorial debut, and I thought it was very clear that this guy cares about this movie franchise, and genuinely wants this movie to be more than just a cash grab. What I value about him and the Sonic movie franchise as a whole is that they come with a level of humility and open-mindedness, and I think you can thank Ugly Sonic for that, but just don't look directly at him as you do.
Meow?
I know, it was out of the ashes of Ugly Sonic that this beautiful trilogy of films, this phoenix, had to rise. So, it was a necessary sacrifice.
But it wasn't just the Ugly Sonic controversy that made this movie a success. I think the same humility could be seen in the actual writing of Sonic the Hedgehog, as it did not try to push any boundaries or set up a Sonic cinematic universe.
You never had a doubt, huh?
No.
All it tried to do was make a fun, wholesome, family-friendly movie with a lovable hero, a quirky villain, and a message about home and family. You can call it playing it safe, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with that if the execution is well made. I sometimes feel many franchises would be better off going back to basics instead of ragdolling the plot like it's Gmod. I don't know how true this is, but I felt that Jeff wasn't quite confident in his ability to direct a movie of this scale, and perhaps relied on the guidance of others on some of those decisions. Not a bad thing to do either if you don't feel confident in this position yet, but it typically means that the movie will lack flavor compared to the ones directed by very meticulous directors.
Quentin Tarantino. So he was, again, a tyrant.
But hey, if you feel like you're not ready to be great, sometimes it's better to just be good. That being said, I want to look closely at what the Sonic movies do well, not so well, and why they still may be worth watching despite their negatives.
I did not mean to do that.
After watching all three Sonic movies, I can safely say there's a lot to like about these movies from a filmmaking point of view. Dare I say, there's actual use of visual storytelling, which is always refreshing to see, even at this basic level. The fact that I can find some creative framing and lighting that works in tandem with the story already surpasses most live-action movies Disney has put out in the past 10 years.
The evil one is in red.
Again, baby-level cinematography, but at least it's there.
It's already 10 times better than all the movies I've seen this year, I think.
I've spoken about visual storytelling in my previous videos, so I won't get into the details. But when it comes down to it, one good way to recognize it is simply to put the movie on mute. Can you still follow along with the plot? That's good, level 1. Can you detect subtext or the meaning behind the shot? That's level 2. Does it consistently do both things exceptionally well with a clear artistic intent? That's your level 3. If it fails to do any of those things, then it's level 0 and it's not engaging with the cinema language techniques. For example, if I'm a filmmaker, how can I depict a character missing someone close to him? If I don't care about cinema, I might have the character say, I miss X.
I miss you, Longclaw.
Maybe I know the basics, so I have the character pick up something that reminds him of X, and we can cut to a flashback of them and the relationship. Or maybe I'll go one step beyond and have a character looking sorrowfully at a portrait of X's face on a latte that he made for a stranger. And if you start looking for them, you can find quite a lot of scenes that just go a little bit beyond to emphasize the story beat and heck, add several layers of subtext. In the first Sonic movie, I think the introduction to Green Hills is very well done. If you get rid of Sonic's narration, you can still get a pretty good idea who Sonic is, what kind of world he inhabits, as well as his relationship with it. You can quickly pick up on his positive nature, his childlike attitude, and creativity. And yet, the movie still manages to capture a sense of loneliness and isolation, even if he's being positive and having fun. How about the scene where Sonic is watching TV with Tom and Maddie while he's outside? It's a simple frame, but you can instantly detect how the director wants you to feel about it. The intentionality and meaning behind the shot is very clear, and Jeff uses this framing technique several times. Like say in Sonic 3 where Sonic wants to catch Shadow. The way Shadow is trapped inside the center of the cuff makes it very clear that Sonic doesn't just want to talk, and you can quickly empathize with Shadow's suspicion. Again, very basic, but gosh, doesn't it help to just have it rather than not? In contrast, watch a clip of Mufasa without audio and you will struggle to understand what the visuals want you to think or feel, besides maybe making you read the underwhelming facial expressions of the animals. But from a cinema language perspective, it's just devoid of life, much like the animals. Meanwhile, I can't say the same about the Sonic movies. Devoid of life, they are not. The vibrant colors, the expressive, hyperactive and eccentric characters, and diverse locations make the movie feel far more engaging and memorable. Yeah, you can say that a lot of kids' movies are vibrant and colorful, but you can't always claim that they are memorable. Compare the cinematography and production design of the Sonic movies to Alvin and the Chipmunks. Both are movies with CGI characters, but which one do you think puts more effort into creating a stronger visual identity? Sure, you can claim that Alvin doesn't have the sci-fi fantasy elements of Sonic, but that's a cop-out. Do you think you couldn't make a visually impressive song sequence for Alvin and the Chipmunks? Actually, let's do a little bit of a scene comparison between the dance scene in Sonic 2 and the Witch Doctor scene of Alvin and the Chipmunks. I feel like I need to emphasize this point. Look at the amount of wide shots and mid shots in Alvin that are only there to convey that this is a concert. In many cases, the chipmunks aren't even the focus of the shot. The chipmunks act the same way, so we don't get any indication of their personality or any conflict. The only piece of storytelling you can grasp are 2 shots between Dave and Claire, but that's it. I can't even gauge how much the audience actually likes the chipmunks, since they're all just doing the basic dance moves. Meanwhile, look at Sonic 2's Pivonka scene. Do you see how the camera is working with this story? How there's a difference in its movements when we cut to the Russian dancer and then to Sonic and Tails? Do you see how different the audience is shown on both sides to emphasize who's winning and who's losing? All that while the film still doesn't forget about the map and even incorporates it into the dance. And if that's not enough, the movie gives Tails a moment of doubt, choosing a high-angle shot to make him appear weaker and intimidated by everyone calling him a freak. These unsettling visuals make it a lot easier to understand what Tails is experiencing, and that's where Sonic steps into the frame to provide comfort and a solution. And again, watch the change in the power dynamic. It's not just the music that changes, it's the lighting, the camera movements, the audience's attitude towards Tails and Sonic. The change is very clear. Even when you don't look at the storytelling aspects, which one do you think has a more memorable performance? I think it's a no-brainer. And I don't even need to bother comparing it to Mufasa's song number.
No other animal will break my stride.
Yeah. Don't hold back.
I always wanted a brother.
Man, look smarter. Don't hold back.
My brother.
My brother. You shouldn't even care about those noses in the air.
You can say that the Sonic movies are more cartoony with their exaggerated visuals and performances, but to that I say, good. When the visuals are exaggerated, it's easier to see the intentionality of the shot and appreciate it. Like, look at the shot of Agent Stone with the 2 Robotniks. I think it's pretty obvious what we're meant to get out of it, right? Does it make it bad that it's obvious? I don't think so. Yeah, it's a little bit on the nose, but at least it's there. And they're not just downright telling it to you. There's a thing as too much, yes. But I'd be worried about too little first. If the creative intent of a shot is not somewhat overt and you're forced to guess what it means, it's probably done poorly. Even shots that are intended for audiences to question things are typically still very overt. You're not playing Where's Waldo here. Essentially, if the filmmaker intended a visual to have a certain meaning, it wouldn't be excessively hidden. Of course, that never stopped other YouTube essayists and fans from utilizing this lack of clarity to make things up and claim them to be true.
First of all, the death became meaningful as an achievement. In this particular character arc, it becomes a reward for character growth.
What the hell are you talking about?
The Sonic movies can be very much seen as cartoons filmed in real life. This style of overly dramatic shots and bombastic visuals are found more in cartoons or video game cutscenes, which hints to me that significant time was spent in the storyboarding and concept art stage. And you can often tell which shots were storyboarded in greater detail than others. But I think that time in the storyboarding room did give Sonic movies a very strong visual identity. Unfortunately, it's overshadowed by
this lazy writing.
And no, I'm not talking about the absurd elements of the plot.
Oh my god, it's a dance fight.
The kids' movie cliches.
So we make our stand here.
As a team.
Or the blatant product placement.
Have you tried their never-ending pasta bowl?
I can forgive all of that, all of it, if it wasn't for the in-your-face explanatory dialogue and exposition that keeps festering in modern movies and TV shows like some parasite.
I'm not brave like you. My gadget got us in this mess, and I lost your map, and we're gonna gonna get tossed into a fire!
I tend to call both exposition because they're blatantly giving information, but to avoid confusion, I'll clarify. Exposition is where you're info dumping background information such as backstories, world building, and plot details.
After the events in San Francisco, a global task force was created, devoted to protecting our planet from alien threats.
An explanatory dialogue is when your character outright states how they feel, their thoughts, motivations, and sometimes even the thematic purpose of the scene.
Your anger was too much. What kind of hero abandons his friends?
What annoys me is that Sonic movies are trying to tell a story through visuals, and they're not even doing a bad job at it. So why in the name of all that is holy do the writers feel inclined to spell everything out for us?
This was more than just a military base or lab. It was a home. People lived here.
What value is their dialogue adding that isn't depicted in the visuals? I know it's a kids' movie and maybe the writing is there to chew the story up and feed it to the kids who may not have the attention spans or the ability to recognize visual cues. But man, you are not giving them a chance to develop that understanding at all. Kids are not that dumb, and visual language is often easier to perceive than verbal one, which is why often kids gravitate more towards cartoons than to books. So you don't need Sonic to comment on everything that's happening.
Well, that did something.
Let him experience the moment, or at least have him say something meaningful about the scene, not just vocalize what we're already seeing.
Whoa, the compass!
This will lead us to the emerald!
It's as though the writers are too scared that the audience won't understand something. But it's Sonic. You're not writing 12 Angry Men here. It's not that difficult to follow, especially when the visuals are so exaggerated. Remember when I talked about the introduction to Sonic in Green Hills? Remember the visuals that clearly establish Sonic's quirkiness and loneliness? Then why do you need a scene of Sonic playing therapist and telling himself the conflict of the movie?
Deep down, you are still rather lonely. Perhaps afraid you'll be alone forever.
Or him telling himself how he feels after playing baseball.
I really am alone. All alone.
You can't just have your characters announce how they feel. That makes me feel angry.
The visuals were already telling us how Sonic feels. Having him say it not only is redundant, but weak writing in general. Imagine how much more powerful the scene would have been if he realized his loneliness while running the bases. You could have had him do all the jokey stuff. Then he hits the ball and starts to run. As he does, he sees the empty bleachers, and he slows down, but doesn't stop. As he turns the base, he spots the baseball just laying there by itself, a visual that Sonic could empathize with. Perhaps it could even remind him of his first night on Earth, curled up into a ball, scared and alone. Then you can have the emotional outburst, those pent-up emotions finally releasing along with the energy. No words needed. We got something close, but they just didn't push it far enough, opting to instead have Sonic say that he's alone. I'm all alone is something that we want to say to the audience, but now, as filmmakers, we have to think how we could visually show that. That's what the art of cinema is all about. Just watch the sad scenes in classic Disney cartoons. They were masters of letting the visuals do the talking. Sure, you may have some characters narrating or talking, but it's never directly announcing how they feel at that moment.
Come on, Copper. Get out of the way.
The Sonic movies have the same old bad habits of modern writing, where creators are not confident enough in the visual medium of filmmaking, and they don't engage with the possibility of just letting the shot speak for itself. It's the storytelling equivalent of Yoko Ono adding her vocals to Chuck Berry. The enthusiasm is there, but it doesn't add any value and actually distracts you from the overall experience. And sometimes you just need to cut that mic.
He used to carry his guitar in a gunny sack.
If you're going to do so much telling, can you at least make the telling more interesting?
It's all about the choices we make.
Make good choices! Using the emerald wasn't the right choice.
And you've made the same choice I did.
You always have a choice.
Family, 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 family.
When did the practice of subtext become uncool? You know, the art of writing dialogue that isn't so direct?
Where are your friends? They tried to stop you, didn't they? But you came anyway. What kind of hero abandons his friends?
Imagine if in Blade Runner, Roy Batty says, "I am upset that I will die, and the experience I had will be gone. Anyway, I'll die." That's pretty much what we get in Sonic's dialogue. Again, kids' movie, I understand, but this is not Peppa Pig.
George, do you like tomatoes?
No. George does not like tomatoes.
We're out here having fun.
Just having some fun.
Fun. I am having the fun.
I'm sure we're aiming at a slightly older audience, so I think we can be a bit more subtle, right? Now, I will say, some lines, especially the jokes, have a charm to them.
I was breastfed, actually. Nice. Rub that in my orphan face.
But to me, they're far too few and far in between. Compared to the cinematography and animation, the writing department is taking it easy.
But is it too late to try? And all our time that you wasted, all of our bridges burned down. I've wasted my nights. You turned out the lights. I'm at a pace, trying to go.
The visible example to me is the beginning of Sonic 3. We start with Shadow escaping captivity. The whole setting is dark, ominous, rain pouring down on Shadow as he runs away. He ends up alone in the middle of Tokyo while the military is chasing after him. Very dramatic. And then we cut to a beautiful sunny day in Green Hills where Sonic is having the time of his life with his friends and family, being safe and cared for. The clear visual juxtaposition between two scenes should trigger your brain to interpret Sonic and Shadow as hedgehogs with very different experience of this world. But oh no, here come the writers shoving the dialogue to explain this by having Sonic ponder what his life would be like if he didn't meet his friends.
I don't know what I'd do without you. Probably be a totally different hedgehog.
Why? Your visuals were already doing that, let them cook. Or how about this scene where Shadow is watching a movie called Beware the Alien Freak, and you see a close-up of Shadow's reaction to it. Knowing the context of what Shadow is, I think we can all infer what he's thinking at that moment. It's actually blatantly obvious, I think. But the writing is like, nah, I don't think the people will get it. Let's just have Shadow refer to this movie and explain what he thought about it.
Like I'm the horrible thing from that movie we watched.
Cool, thank you, writing. But if you manage to sit through the painful dialogue, you can find, and I can't believe I have to praise this, an actual structured story. However, I'd say the movies are a little bit too well structured, where you can pretty much pinpoint where you are on the 3-act structure curve. While it's better than whatever Arcane Season 2 was, it does make the movies very predictable and formulaic. Let me summarize the plot of one movie. Sonic is living his life in Green Hills. Tom gives Sonic some words of wisdom. Sonic faces off and loses to a powerful enemy that has teamed up with a mad scientist. This enemy and the mad scientist seek out a powerful world-destroying weapon. Sonic tries to stop them again, but his friend gets injured, causing Sonic to go alone. During the battle with this enemy, the two reconcile their differences. Sonic recites the wisdom given to him by Tom, and the two team up to stop the mad scientist. They defeat the mad scientist and save the day. Now, was I describing the plot of Sonic 2 or Sonic 3? Yeah, that's my point. Now, there's nothing wrong with the formula, but you may want to avoid repeating the same scene shot by shot. Nev and I did a Sonic speculation video where we tried to predict the plot of Sonic 3, and honestly, some of the things we guessed were a little bit too on point. Phil's gonna be like, wow, the readings are off the charts.
Whoa, these energy readings are off the chart.
Sonic, get out of there. And he's like, no, I got this.
You're not gonna make it.
I can make it.
So he's just an information guy, and then that's about all he contributes to the team.
And I'm the gadget guy.
What's the likelihood that Knuckles is gonna be used as like the Vegeta of the storyline, where he's gonna be like, this punk ain't nothing, I'm gonna go beat him up, and just instantly gets destroyed by Shadow?
I couldn't believe that would happen more. That 100% has to happen.
Actually, Sonic, I would like to fight. Let us talk without fists!
I have nothing in this world, nothing. He's like, you have someone. Extends his hand.
Did you write this? Is this your story? Is that what we're going to find out in this trailer?
I've been so blinded by rage, I thought I had no choice.
You always have a choice.
The problem is, as a writer, you never want your audience to get to the punchline faster than you can. I understand this is a kid's movie, and for some, this might be the first time they ever watch a feature-length film, so maybe they won't be familiar with the movie tropes and cliches. Still, I don't think that's an excuse for lazy writing. When it comes to the visuals, I think they're getting better and better with each movie, and it's clear that Jeff and the team are doing their homework to implement more of the Sonic lore into the movies and reduce the role of the humans. I wouldn't be surprised if we leave Earth entirely by the fourth one.
Sonic wakes up, and he realizes he's not in his home, and we kind of see it's like a spaceship. And then there's a character that's like, so you didn't think you were the only one that was alone out here, did you? There's a whole wider universe that you don't even know about.
We're the Galactic Protectors, who also all look like woodland creatures.
Yes, yeah.
But while the visuals and lore are improving, the writing seems to be just as intrusive as it ever was, even more so by the third film.
Oh, I'm not Sonic's assistant. We're teammates. He's the leader, Knuckles is the muscle, and I'm the gadget guy. We all have a role to play. That's what makes the team so special. That and the fact we're best friends.
You are.
Jeff needs to rein these writers in, or simply cross out the lines that are simply not needed because the visuals are doing the storytelling.
Oh, I'm not Sonic's assistant. We're teammates. That and the fact we're best friends.
You are.
As I said, the actual structure of the story and the themes they're exploring are fine. The characters are distinct, they have internal and external flaws, and they're going through character arcs. My favorite part of the writing is the parallels between Sonic and his enemies. They all have this shared pain that makes their battle a lot more tragic. I think that's especially prominent in Sonic 2 and 3, but even Sonic 1 has that between Sonic and Robotnik. The two are outsiders in this world. Sonic is a physical outsider, orphaned in his youth, and forced to stay in a foreign world. Meanwhile, Robotnik is a mental outsider, who, despite being human, also finds himself alone in his intellectual sanctuary.
You know what's hard about being the smartest person in the world?
Everyone else is stupid.
Yes.
It kind of makes sense how both characters act quirky compared to the rest of the world. But while Sonic, the actual alien, is embraced by the world, Robotnik is rejected. And the reason for that is because Sonic cares about this world, whereas Robotnik doesn't.
These are my people, and dare I say, I am their lovable space creature.
I'm sure you're hella popular with the Jebs and Merles and Billy Bobs and this glorified gas station rest stop.
Nothing groundbreaking, but there's competency there. All the writers need to do is trust the art of cinema and be a little bit more creative with the dialogue. That's it. It's perfectly salvageable. It may not even be the fault of the writers for having explanatory dialogue. We know the mindset of the company executives, so maybe it's them who should be listening to the critique more. But it doesn't matter whose fault it is. It just needs to stop. The movies themselves are improving over time. In terms of the visual storytelling aspect, they're beating the competition right now. It's not groundbreaking, but dang, I'm glad it's there. And the writing can be fixed very easily. I don't think there's any flaws in the template, and it seems to be successful. But just like cheating off of someone else, you don't want your answers to be exactly the same. But even if they continue to do what they're doing, I can't say it's a bad experience. Those who watch all three movies know what to expect. It's a safe and enjoyable franchise to be part of. Because even if it's not great, at least the creators are fulfilling a promise to entertain you, which is more than I can say for many other franchises. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you found this video somewhat insightful and entertaining. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I'm still operating on a random upload schedule, so it will be the best way to keep track of all the cool projects that I'm doing. If you want to hang out with me and an ever-growing community, there's a Discord invite in the description along with some other goodies. I hope to see you there. Thank you, and I'll see you around.